All right, we're going to get started with universal settings, one red spring. If you find that one red spring is too heavy, of course you can switch it at any point, but I think the heavy weight of it feels good. If you're on a lower reformer to the ground, you don't need the box down here, but if you are on a high reformer like I am, you'll need something to kneel on because we're gonna be starting here. If you're on a lower reformer, you might use the platform extender, this guy, to pad your knees, or foam padding, whatever you have. If you're really tall, maybe you don't need anything, I don't know. But you'll figure it out once we start moving, it'll be more obvious what's happening. Make sure your foot bar is down and you're not on the wooden platform, you're on the box. Cool. Put your hands at the edge of the carriage. Like I said, the heavy weight of it should feel kind of nice. Just hinge at your hips and let the carriage get pushed forward and then lift your chest. So you're staying neutral. You're just hinging at your hips and lifting, moving from your shoulders. So your shoulders, armpits open, your chest lifts and you come up. Try to find neutral so we can move on to some other positions as well. So you stay in neutral, and as you come up, you're still in neutral with the shoulders away from the ears. Grace, see if you can get the inside of your elbow to point more in, or maybe even slightly forward versus back towards your legs. I think it'll get your shoulders more connected down the back instead of up towards the ears. Yeah. Okay, so now press out and stay out there. You're still just hinged. And just do a couple shoulder glides where you're elevating your shoulders up towards your ears, drawing your shoulders down in a gentle V, elevating them up towards the ears, drawing them down. Doesn't look like much movement, but it should feel like you're gliding your shoulder blades on the back of the rib cage, trying to press the carriage away and letting the carriage glide the shoulder blades back down and in. Twice more. And then come all the way back in. Push out again, hold the carriage there in neutral, bend and press the elbows. So the elbows aren't pointed straight side or straight down. They're somewhere in the middle, about 45 degrees, that line of scaption. You can take one hand away. You'll feel your core has to work a lot more. Obviously, your arm has to work more as well. Try to find neutral and stay in neutral. Yeah, and then set that hand down, put the other hand somewhere, maybe on the abdomen, on your hip. Trying to keep the shoulder from going up towards the ear as the arm reaches further towards straight. Yeah, nice. And then bringing both hands back to the carriage, hinge at the hips to bring yourself up. Push the carriage out again. Push it out as far as you can. You can allow the shoulders to elevate up towards your ears and then round your lower back. It'll bring the carriage in maybe an inch or two and then lengthen the spine back out from tail to head. So you're kind of massaging the spine open and lengthening the carriage. You'll move a couple inches, round through your lower back and pelvis, press back out. Round the lower back and pelvis, press back out. Feel like your head is not sinking below the elbows, that your head is staying elongated. And then start to make that a little bit bigger of a movement so the carriage might come in more and you roll through more of your spine. That same thick quality, rounding and lengthening through the spine, and rounding and lengthening through the spine. Feel the sits bones pull down towards the back of the knees to bring the spine under. This should feel nice to articulate the spine. One more time. Each time, fan the sits bones open as you go into that extension, and then come all the way back in. Bring your hands to the middle of the carriage. Push the carriage forward. Rotate one arm open to the side and your chest open, then come back to the center as the carriage comes in. Push it out and rotate and come back in. You're still just kind of hinging at the hips. This is kind of the beginning of this movement. Hinge to push it forward, hand comes back down. Hinge to push it forward, hand comes back down. We're of course gonna add to this, so start with just that. Yeah, on your next one, you're gonna hinge, take the arm overhead, round the back to come back in. So you extend, open and rotate, round, the arm goes overhead to come back to the carriage. It's not the biggest movement ever, and there's not a lot of room to move, but it should feel like you're trying to access any of those areas of the spine that are tight. Try to extend, flex and pull it in, and extend, up and over. One more each side. And last one. And come all the way back in. Put both hands to the edge of the carriage again. And just 4 times push out, articulate to the spine like we were doing a moment ago. And hinge at the hips to push it out, open the armpits, just centering everything back off. Hinge to press out. Rounding to come back in one last time. Hinging to press out. Rounding to come all the way back in. Come off of the box, and you can either sit cross-legged or kneel facing the back of the reformer towards the pulleys. Be careful, mindful as you come up to kneeling. Grab the straps, fold the straps over so that you have a little bit more substance to hold on to. Open across the collarbone, pull up on the front of the pelvis, and just press the arms back to the sides of the hips and hold them there, and just do a couple little pulses back there, trying to open across the collarbone. So in general, we've been working on a lot of extension through the upper back because of all the sitting most of us are having to do. So feel like you're trying to lengthen through the back of the upper body. Head is like pressing up against a wall behind you, and the collarbones are wide. And then go into a fuller range where the arms go forward until you bump the stopper, and then you press back. Obviously, you're free to adjust your springs. Just if you go lighter, know it's less stable, so be careful. Pressing. One way to make it lighter is just, heavier is just to reach your hands further forward on the ropes. Pressing back, open across the collarbone each time. Keep pulling up on the front of the pelvis if you're kneeling. Last 2. And last one, hold the arms back by the hips. Just a small bend and straighten, bend and straighten. Stay wide across the collarbone. I don't care if your arms are behind you. I care more about the shoulder girdle being open. So as the arms are moving, try not to roll the shoulders forward into a round position. Yeah. Four more. Good. And then bringing the arms back forward. Keep the one that's closer to the camera side of the reformer and turn to face the side. Just pulling your elbow out to the side, your hand is coming up. So pressing out and reaching back down. Should be able to do this on the spring tension. This usually is easier than the external rotation, which we're not doing right this second. But if you need to lighten it a quarter spring, you can. The shoulders shouldn't be lifting up. We're not trying to extend the arm. I think that's why some of you had to make the springs lighter. We're just abducting. Elbow goes out to the side, elbow comes back in. Really what we're going for is the movement of the shoulder on the back of the rib cage, that the arm is going out. It should feel deltoids. Those tend to be stronger on most of us. One more time, yeah. Switch hands, scooch a little bit away from the shoulder rest mindfully. Same motion, other arm. Again, this tends to be a little easier than some of the other ones we do facing the side. If it's too heavy, move towards the shoulder rest. Should feel like the back of the shoulder is working. Rubbing the belly kind of feeling. Focusing on what's happening at the shoulder versus the elbow. So it's not like you have to keep your elbow exactly 90 degrees. You're allowed to let it change a little bit. And that might allow you to keep the front of the shoulder more open. One last time. Good. And then scoop back towards the shoulder rest. So you're touching the shoulder rest. And just hold the strap away from the thigh, out to the side, wide across the collarbone, and just stay there. You're engaged against the tension. You're isometrically working to hold. Keep holding. Should feel the outside of the shoulder working. You're not squeezing your shoulder down. You're just trying to stay level, holding it. If this doesn't feel hard, then you've gone too light. And then bringing the carriage back in. Turn back towards the back of the reformer. Take your free hand and put it on the shoulder rest so your fingers are just barely touching it. And walk your hand up a little higher on the rope. You might fold the strap over if that's more comfortable for you. So you're in this hinged position, barely any weight in that free hand, and then you're just pressing the arm down and back and reaching it forward. As you do this a few times, you can figure out exactly where your knees need to be. So they're underneath your pelvis. Most of us need to back our knees up a little bit. Early and Grace, see if you back your knees up, you can be in more of an incline. I'd like your torso to be somewhere between horizontal and vertical. Not just a little off from vertical, but quite significantly. Yeah, if you have really long arms, you could touch the carriage instead of the shoulder rest. Find your neutral spine hinge. You're kind of tucked under there. Stick your butt out. So instead of being round, lengthen the spine. Back your knees up as well. And hold on to the rope or the metal clip, but I think the strap part will be too short. So your arm is going from way in front of the shoulder rest towards the hips. It's very much like our plow on the long box. Using that hand on the shoulder rest to help you so you can manage this. One more time. Good, keep that same strap, but come to facing the side on your forearm on the headrest. Take the top strap and put it on your top foot. Push your leg out. We're not doing a million of these, so this is heavier, so see how it goes, but bend your leg to parallel tabletop and push back out. As you bend in, try not to sink into the shoulder rest, so you're keeping your waist lifted. Bend in, press out. Some of you are really far up in the shoulder rest. If you scooch down a little bit and get your shoulder over your elbow, I think it'll be a better position. None of us are super tall, so I think there's plenty of room. Yeah, try to be parallel through the leg. One more, hold the leg out there and just 6 circles in each direction, trying to keep the carriage reaching. So keep reaching into the foot. So the carriage might move, but it's not collapsing, basically. Nice. And reverse. And then bring the leg back in. Take that strap off your foot, put that strap back on the shoulder rest, and you're gonna kneel or sit facing the second side. So once you're facing the second side, feel free to adjust your springs if you need to, but we're still theoretically on that one red spring. So outside hand, the one closer to the foot bar, is pressing the elbow out to the side, trying to widen across the collarbone, focusing on our rotator cuff a little bit here. Staying wide across the front of the chest. As the arm comes back across and the carriage comes in, try to keep the back of the shoulder working so that that shoulder blade stays kind of flat against the back of the ribs instead of kind of pulls towards the front. Yeah, nice. Couple more here. Elbow goes wide, coming back in. Elbow goes wide. And last 2. And last 1. Switch to the other hand. You might need to move a little bit away from the shoulder rest. Same action, but different direction of resistance. So arm is kind of like you're rubbing your tummy. You're trying to open the elbow out to the side and then bring it back across the abdomen. Good. Do that a couple times. Your hand should almost be touching your belly. It doesn't literally have to touch, but try not to let your arm get far away from you because that starts to go into a different plane of motion or multiple planes of motion. Yeah, nice. And then switch hands again. Press your arm out to the side and just hold it there. Hold, hold, hold. Should feel like your hand is away from the side of your leg. Your shoulders are level. If you can see yourself in the camera, it's kind of like a mirror. See if your shoulders look level. Don't worry about it if you can't, that's okay. Just pressing from that isometric contraction around the shoulder. And then bringing the carriage back in, turn towards the back of the reformer. Fold the strap up a little further. Put your hand on the shoulder rest. Hinge at the torso. So it should feel like a position like if you had no hands, you wouldn't fall over. And it's not very close to vertical. So like 45 degrees-ish. Pressing the arm back like plow, drawing the arm back and reaching it forward. And as you do this a few times, you can start to feel how you can take more weight into your torso and into the balance of the pelvis versus leaning into the hand as much. But there is some weight in that hand. I would say your knees need to be about a foot away from the shoulder rest, depending on how your height. My shoulders are kind of over the shoulder rest, and so I need room for my spine. So if the knees are too far forward, that looks good early. You won't have enough room. Nice, Anne. Good. Last two. And last one. Good. And then we're going to lay on the side facing away from the camera. Put your forearm down. Take your top foot in the strap. Push your leg out parallel. Lift through the waist. Bend your top leg. Press it back out. As you do this, bend and straighten a couple times. Try to keep your foot at sit bone height as much as that's possible. And as the leg bends in, try not to let the waist kind of collapse towards the shoulder rest. One more, hold the leg out there, keep pushing the carriage away as you circle the leg. And reverse for 6 more. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bend the leg, bring the carriage all the way back in, and you can take the strap off, put that away. And we're gonna grab our platform and switch to, if you're really strong, a half spring. If you're pretty strong, try the quarter spring, and we can always go from there. But we're gonna put the platform over the rails between the headrest and the back of the reformer, or the pulleys. If you stand first on the silver rail and then up onto the platform, that usually seems a little easier. And then the free foot is going to be against the shoulder rest. Bend your platform leg and then pull the carriage in by bending the carriage leg. Bend the carriage leg, straighten-ish the carriage leg. So as you're going out and in, you're creating some work through the inner thighs. If it's a little shy of the range of motion, put the headrest up. Don't smash the headrest into your ankle, but it'll give you a couple more inches. Pull it in, return, or at least another inch. Pull, return. Yeah, and find your torso between centered, neutral, vertical versus leaning in one direction or the other. Yeah, nice. And then you're going to try to push down through the platform leg to stand, straight through the platform leg, bend the platform leg to return the carriage towards the stopper. You'll feel inner thigh working, hopefully, pushing down through the heel, pulling up. Down and up a couple times. Two more. And last one. And return the carriage. Step onto the platform and carefully turn around to face the other side. We'll do the other side right away. So bending the platform leg, bending the carriage leg to pull the carriage in. Doesn't matter to me how big the range of motion is, as long as you feel like the outer hips are working, that you're staying as neutral as you can. You feel some inner thigh action happening. Bend, pull, straighten, return, bend and pull. Four more. 3, 2, and last one. Push the platform leg down into the platform to straighten the leg, connecting up into your glute to stand. Bend it to return the carriage towards the stopper. Push the platform away towards straight leg, bend it to return. Pushing the floor away, trying to find that connection through that standing leg. It's okay if it doesn't go all the way to straight. You're just going as far as you can. 3 more. 3, and 2, and last one. Return the carriage, step onto the rail. It's nicer on your knees if you step back off the reformer behind you. And then I would say a half spring would be the lightest I would do this next bit on. Come to kneeling on the platform. If kneeling doesn't work for you or it's too much, feel free to stand between the rails instead. So hands are flat like blades so that you're not leaning into them. Again, it's that feeling of like you could take your hands away for a second, you wouldn't just fall over. For a split second, it might mean you have to shift your weight back just a little. Round the pelvis under to curl into your cat back, lengthen and return. On the return, stay there. Bend your elbows, send your heart forward and extend your upper back. And then lengthen to neutral, round the pelvis under, roll into flexion or cat back, return, open the elbows, send the heart forward. Lengthen to neutral on your own timing. As you do this a few times, feel like the extension part is a very active moment. It's not just kind of sinking with gravity into your spine. You're like trying to think of prying the shoulder rests apart to help connect to the back of the shoulder blades. Good. Lengthening and rounding your back. Lengthening your back, extending the spine one more time. And then return to neutral. Take your hands down on the carriage. You're welcome to add spring tension to this at any point. But keeping neutral, there will be some feeling of hinge. You're going to pull your arms towards you. As the arms get more under you, you might feel like your body gets a little higher. As the arms go away from you, you might feel like your body gets a little lower. It's not as drastic as what we were doing at the beginning, but there is some change. Just hinging, trying to keep the arms straight. The closer your hands are to you, the easier it is. It makes it a little lighter. The further your hands are away from you, the heavier it gets. If it's too light, add springs. Hinge, return. One more time. And then bend your elbows to pull the elbows towards you. You'll have to let your torso hinge at the pelvis and lower a little, and then lengthen your spine and let the elbows straighten to go forward. So bend and lengthen. If that's not working for you, you can try it up here on the shoulder rest, a little easier up here. Bend and lengthen, and bend. If you bend your elbows and point your elbows kind of back, you should feel triceps and you feel like your chest has to lower a little. Or if I say that in a different way, allow your chest to lower. I can do it with some bend in my elbow without really lowering my chest. But if I really want to bend my elbows and get a huge amount of flexion through the elbows, I've got to let my torso hinge at the pelvis. Just feels harder. Yeah, exactly. Like a push-up. 3 more. And last one. And return, keep your hands on something while you climb off the side. Take that platform and you can put the platform out of your way. Grab your box. Instead, we're gonna go into some short box exercises. So the headrest has to be down. The straps either on the hooks or on the floor like mine are so that they're not in your way. Put the box up against the shoulder rest. Switch to your footwork settings. So you probably will have to adjust the gear bar and the stopper. At least 2 red springs. This strap down here, if you don't know which one is the correct one for your height, try the middle one. If you know you have slightly different than your footwork settings, short box settings, feel free to go to that place. Once you get up on the box, put your feet underneath the strap. There should be some space behind you. If you need to adjust a little bit, get off the reformer and move the stopper. If you need to adjust a lot, switch which D-ring you're hooked to. Okay, so just to make sure we're in the right spot, the box is over the shoulder rest for sure, yeah, unless you were really short. Just start by rounding your pelvis under, feel the pelvis spin, glutes are working, you're trying to flex through your lower back. So I should see some slight flattening or rounding of that curve of the lower spine. Should feel like your abdominals are working. Lift your arms up overhead. Then like you're getting punched in the stomach or rounding over a big beach ball, go back forward over the legs and then stack up from tail to head. Do that again, rounding through the lower back. Lift the arms up overhead. Deepen the abdominals, come forward over the legs. And sit back up. Do that a couple more times. Why are we doing this? Well, I'm hoping it helps us to open up the front of the hip joints, kind of get us out of seated positions through the pelvis. And by having your legs below you like this, it gives you a little more room to open up through the front of the hips. Yeah, nice. Stay there once your arms are overhead. Rotate your upper body towards one side without sitting up taller, center off. And exhale to rotate and center. Do that a couple times. You should feel your obliques working. And rotate and center. One more each way. Rotate and center and rotate and center. Come forward over an imaginary beach ball. Stay there a second over your legs and just see if you get a little stretch through the spine. And then stack up from tail to head. Cool, it looks like you're all in good positions. We're gonna turn to face the side. So bring your top leg on top of the box. If that's uncomfortable, you can let your knee hang off. This foot on the strap is obviously holding you up, so don't let go. If you have tight hips, back up. So you're less, obviously not off the back of the box, but back up some. Okay, so start by holding onto the box, let your foot rotate so your toes point forward, and then let your hip rotate so your heels back down. Just do that a couple times, allowing that rotation through the leg. So I need to see this movement of the hip or we won't be able to do the exercises that are here, because everything builds on that ability to allow the strap to rotate on that foot and the hip to rotate. Yeah. That's right, Grace. And then if you want to add to that, you're going to reach your top arm overhead, your knee and your toes are pointed forward, side bend towards the floor, lift yourself back up, let that leg rotate, and then side bend towards your foot. Regroup, and then go again. One long diagonal, side bend, lift up, and side bend the other way. And if it's bothering your knee at all, you're welcome to do bow and arrow instead, because you'd be in this maybe more comfortable for your body, your left knee position, if you want. Your choice. And big long line, side bend towards the floor. Lift yourself up. Hopefully you feel some obliques working. And one more time. Big side bend. Lift up and over. Side bend towards the leg and come back up. Put your hands where they can help you and adjust so your foot's in the middle. There's a big chunk of strap across the whole top of the foot. Bottom foot is either by the ankle or towards the knee, but not right at the back of the knee. Square yourself off to the front. You can use your arm to help you and just find one long diagonal, then side bend towards the floor. Lift yourself back up to that diagonal. The leg and the strap shouldn't really be moving, so I don't want to see the leg going up and down. Once you find it, if you got the right length, you're just pulling against it the whole time. Feeling the back of the outer hip working. That looks awesome, everyone. Side bend, pull yourself up. If you don't need the bottom hand, then take the top arm overhead, bottom arm across your waist, and keep them there. Side bend towards the floor, diagonal. Side bend towards the floor. Most of you are doing a side bend towards the ceiling. So like Grace, instead of coming up here, stop on the diagonal, side bend towards the floor, diagonal. Yeah, it's harder, of course. One more time. Take your hand onto the rail, onto the floor, whatever feels good. Do a stretch overhead. Obviously, don't let go of the strap. You could rotate your upper body towards the floor if you felt like it. And then use your arms to help get you back up. Turn around to face the other direction. Heel forward on the rail. Leg is bent in front of you. And find just that motion of the leg rotating in the hip socket. So your leg rotates, the knee points forward, you pull against the strap, and then your heel comes back out. Find that rotation. So you're in your maximum lateral rotation that's comfortable, and then you try to push up and into the strap, pull against it to rotate the knee to point forward. Once that's working, let's go into our mermaid. So you go up and over into a big long diagonal, side bend towards the floor, diagonal, let the leg rotate so you can come up and over towards the leg. And arms out to the side, regroup. Go again, long diagonal, side bend towards the floor. Pull yourself up, big stretch up and over towards the leg that's elongated. And side bend, and pull yourself up, rotate, and come back up one more time. Side bend, nice. Grace, you're doing bow and arrow instead of mermaid, and that's okay. Just when we switch to bow and arrow, now you do mermaid. Mermaid was this one, and then you rotate and go all the way up and over. So now do that one, and we're going into our bow and arrow. So slide your foot down, pull against the strap. Everything is facing the side now. Your foot is somewhere between your knee and your ankle. Hold on to the side of the box, find that long diagonal, then side bend towards the floor. Pull yourself back up to that diagonal. Curve, so you've got to shorten the waist on the bottom side and lengthen through the top side of the waist. And if you want, add your arms, side bend, and lengthen up. And side bend, If you're using your hand on the carriage and stuff, that's totally fine. Just try to use it less. Yeah. Awesome, Grace. Keep going early. If you didn't do any on the other side early, then switch and do the other side. Go to side bend towards the floor and then diagonal versus side bend towards the ceiling. Go down further early, go down, go down, go down, go down. Stop when you hit the long diagonal as you come up. Stop there. There. Yeah. Last one, everybody. And then you're gonna turn to face back forward. Put both feet back underneath. Bend the knees enough that you feel the pull of the back of the leg against the edge of the carriage, and that helps you to come upright. Awesome. Keeping your back really straight, bring your arms overhead and just hold the opposite forearm. It's okay if your arms are a little more in front of your forehead. And then just hinge back, staying neutral. Go just a little bit back, take a breath there, and then sit back up. Nothing too fancy, but hinging, neutral spine. Try not to go into extension. Take a breath and then come back up to vertical. Twice more, hinging back. And coming back up. And hinging back. Take a breath, stay. And coming back up. We're gonna build on that. Okay, so now I want you to orient yourself so that you're not facing the side, you're not facing straight this way, it's somewhere in between. So you're gonna take one foot out, the one closer to the camera, and slide your parallel leg towards the corner of the reformer. So I'm just like slightly on the diagonal towards the corner of the reformer. You can do whatever you want with the foot closer to the camera. I hook it behind and kind of tuck my heel against the edge of the platform. Take your hands, cross them. Make sure you're still very connected. You're rotating your torso on a little bit of a diagonal. So I'm not straight to the center or straight to the side, somewhere on that diagonal. And then just do a little scoop up and over, a little pulse from the abdominals, little pulse from the abdominals. Yeah, come back a little bit further and see if you can think of ribs up and over. You want to take the arms overhead, it's a little harder. Scoop up and over, up and over. So you're not trying to sit up but from your hips hinging. The pelvis and the hip flexors are staying long. You're trying to slide the ribs towards the hips. I shouldn't really see a huge movement. Early in grace, don't move your pelvis. Stay with the pelvis and flex the ribs. Should be harder. Does that make any sense, anybody? One more time. And then sit all the way back up. Sweep your legs over to the other diagonal. Hook your foot behind. Open across the front of the hip so that leg that's hooked under the strap is very elongated. And then you're just pulsing towards that diagonal from the abdominals, rounding. Yeah. Arms can go overhead if you prefer. 4 more. 4, 3, 2, and last one. Sit all the way back up. Put both feet underneath. And just like we started here, hands holding the opposite arm. Round back to your lower back. Should feel nice and easy now. Lift the arms up overhead. Come forward over the legs, stretch through your lower back, stack back up to vertical. One more time. Rounding back, opening across the front of the hip joints, press through the arms up overhead, scoop the belly in as you go up and over. Stay flex forward, take a little stretch, reach your arms as far forward as you can to get more of a stretch, and then sit back up nice and tall. Come off to the side and turn the box into the long position and sit on the box. The carriage shouldn't really move. Aim to have somewhere near the bottom of your shoulder blade, near the back edge of the box. Grab behind one leg and just roll down and test that out to see if you're in the right spot. and then roll back up. Switch legs and roll down. Articulate through the spine, roll back up, sit up tall. And now hold on to your leg less, but still roll down and roll back up. Switch legs and roll down. The arms could reach forward and roll back up. Use your hands wherever you need them, but some of you don't need them as much as you're using them. Yeah, exactly. And one more time like that, rolling down. Try not to kick the leg to come up. The leg is on a diagonal and you're trying to keep it there. You don't get to kick it down. You get to push against your hands, but try not to kick it. That's the right idea. Cool. Grab one leg, roll down, stay down there. Lift that leg up, the other leg up to tabletop. Hands behind the head. And just rib towards opposite hip, center off. Rib towards opposite hip. If this is too much, take the box off the reformer and lay on the carriage and do this exact same thing. You could even do it with your feet down. Up and across, and up and across. And add the single leg extending if you like. And 4, 3, 2, and last one. Come back to the center, drop one leg, grab behind the other leg. Use the leg to help roll you back up. Okay, one more time. We're gonna roll down, lift both legs up to tabletop. Have the hands in front of your face like you're looking at your watch, but you have a watch on each arm and you're looking at both. You're gonna reach both arms and legs up. Obviously, don't tip yourself over. Separate your arms and legs, then reach your legs down a little bit to 100 through the arms, and then come back into that start double watches tabletop position. So just twice more. Tabletop, arms and legs go up, out to the side, down to your 100s, hold, and then come back into the start. Last time, arms and legs go up, out a little bit, down, squeeze the legs together, 100s, bend in, lower down, grab behind one leg, and roll yourself back up. If you'd like, you could try this with the straps. I would recommend 1.5 springs. If you've got really strong arms and abs, you might try 2 springs. So if you put the straps in one hand, you can get on the side of the reformer. You can roll down. There's not a great place to hang out here, so I'm gonna have you start right away once you get here. So the arms and legs would go up, out to the side, press down 100s, and bend back in. Do about 4, with or without the straps. If you've got neck stuff going on, the straps probably is not gonna work for you. So push into the resistance, press. Take the box away if it's bothering you at all. Last one. And take the straps in one hand. You can use the leg to roll back up when you're done with that. Awesome. One more thing we're gonna do there. You can choose to do it with or without the straps. I'm gonna roll back down, put the straps in the correct hand. Stay up in flexion, bring both legs to tabletop, and just open the arms out to the side, press the arms in towards the hips. Open out, press in. Good, stay flexed up. If you're not using the straps and it's bothering your neck, you need to adjust the position. You can go into your mid-back series. Last one. Take this carriage in, grab behind one leg, use your leg to kick up or roll to the side. Come all the way off of there and roll onto your stomach. Head towards the back of the reformer. Hold up onto the ropes. Let's have our legs turned out today and laterally rotated. So you have a little more space for the sacrum to come through. Connect to the back of the shoulders, pull the arms down and back, plow. and reach the arms down and forward. So as you're doing this, you're starting in some flexion through the upper back, pulling down through the arms, lifting yourself up into extension, flexing back forward, reaching out and up. Think of leading with the spinal movement versus with the arms. Should feel like you get some nice abdominal lengthening as well. Good. On your next one, hold your arms back by the hips and just do a little pulse, up and back, up and back, up and back. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Return the carriage. Stay in neutral, pull the arms back towards the hip, and tricep presses, bend and straighten. Nice long line, pull up on the low abdominals. Feel like the head and the feet are reaching away from each other. Three, 2, and last one. And then let your arms go forward. You can put the straps back on the hooks or the shoulder rest, whatever you can reach. Come off to the side and we'll take the box off. Once you get the box off, bring the foot bar up. You're probably on your footwork settings. That would be great if you could come to those if you aren't. And then let's do 2 red springs, laying on your back. Balls of the feet on the bar and just press the legs out to straighten. Just go into a little bit of running. Feel some elongation, like you're trying to reach the pelvis and the upper body away from each other, or push the foot bar and the shoulder rest further away from each other. Same thing, same idea, different way of saying it. Super light, so it should be bouncy, free feeling. And then bend your knees and come all the way back in. Bring your heels onto the bar in line with the sit bones. And round the pelvis under, push the front of the hips open. Once you get the front of the hips open, press the carriage out, lower your pelvis so you stay in neutral. Lift your pelvis to come back in. Hold the carriage against the stopper and roll back down through your spine. If you'd prefer, you could just roll up and roll right back down again instead of pushing out. If you're doing the version where you push out, think of keeping the distance between the bottom ribs and the pelvis the same so that you're not going into extension as you press out. Rolling the pelvis up, press out, lift the pelvis, come back in. And then we're gonna add a little extra moment to this if you would like. You're gonna roll the pelvis under, roll your hips up, press the carriage out, allowing the pelvis to lower. As the carriage comes back in, lift one leg, set that foot down, push the carriage out with both feet. As the carriage comes back in, lift one leg to tabletop-ish, set it down, then roll back down. We're just playing around with going to a single leg instead of a double leg. Roll up, press out with both legs. As you come in, lift one leg, push up from that glute, set the foot down. Press out with both legs. As you come in, lift one foot, set the foot down, roll back down through the spine. One more time. Round the pelvis under, open across the front of the hip, push out, pull in, lifting a foot. Push out both feet, pull in, lifting a foot. Let's repeat that. Push out both feet, pull in, lift, and push out both feet. Pull in and lift. Set that foot down, roll down through your spine, one vertebrae at a time. Take your heels wider on the bar, and feel free to lighten this if this doesn't feel like a hip release. Push your legs out towards straight, turned out. Rotate the knees in to come back in. So pushing out and turn out, spin the knees in to come in, and just find this nice free flow of it. So it's not really 2 steps, it's all one undulating, smooth, gooey motion. Reverse if you can, so knees are towards each other as you press out, away from each other as you come in. Towards and away. Yeah, and it doesn't really have the same feeling if you don't kind of get it moving the whole time. Yeah, and last one. Come all the way back in. If you can grab your straps, grab them. Otherwise, sit up and grab them if you can't. And lay back down, put your feet in the straps. Start with that same motion you were just doing. So turn out, bend in to press out, turn out, bring the carriage in, press it out. This is all coming from your bend and stretch, which you all have done many times. So feet wider towards the corners of the reformer. Turn out as you bend the legs, turn in as you straighten. And make that nice and smooth. And one more time. Reverse it, bend in, press out, turn out. In, out, press, in, out, press. Just getting some ease going in those hip joints. One more time. Press the legs out over the foot bar, rotate your legs turned out, squeeze your legs all the way together. You're gonna make a big capital V shape, so you're gonna open your legs up to the wide part of the V, the legs go apart, but you're still turned out, and press your heels back towards each other. Do that a couple times. Big, wide V. Opening through the legs, keep neutral, and press from the back of the pelvis. Just a couple more like this, big, wide opening, fat V here. 2 more. And last one. Bend your legs in, grab a hold of the straps, and let your knees collapse kind of towards you like happy baby pose in yoga. And rock a little side to side, just stretching out through the lower back. Should feel kind of nice. And then you can take your feet out of the straps, roll off to the side and come off of here. Bring your headrest all the way up so that you can put your feet against the headrest. Hands are going to be on the foot bar to push into it and double check that the foot bar is locked in its position. And then stand up on the carriage, bring your feet back to long stretch so that you're in your plank position, shoulders over the foot bar, connected through the shoulder girdle. Find one long line. Once you're in your one long line, you can press the carriage out and bring it back in. Early, bring your feet to the headrest. It's too heavy. Not elephant, long stretch, so plank. Bring your feet to that crease of the headrest right there. There we go. Now push your hips forward, find a full plank. Imprint, think imprint early. You're pretty extended and flex through the hip joint. There, that's it. So I care less about how much you push out or how far anyone goes and more about you trying to be as neutral as possible, really feeling the back of the pelvis supporting. One more time. Take your knees down, take a break. You can sit back towards your heels if that feels good to you. And we're gonna do one more set. You could choose to make it lighter. It'll be a lot more abs, or you can keep this spring tension. This spring tension gives you more work through the arms, but also more support for the shape. So as you press out, stay neutral and pull back in. Awesome, Anne. Good. Think imprint early. Yeah, perfect. One last time. And then you can bring the knees down. And either doing your single thigh stretch up on the high bar, pushing out from there, or stepping off to the side. Make sure you don't go lighter than 1.5 springs. It should feel heavy because I want that back glute to have to push and help you to assist in opening the front of the hip. So you push out, kind of bow forward, take a breath, and come back in. Press out, bow forward, and then we'll switch to the other leg. This is a good idea to finish with this exercise or get it in almost every day as much as we can, even if I don't have it be part of the class. Keep your back knee down on the carriage and try to open your hip joint more to push out. If I lift my knee, I just don't feel my psoas. I feel almost like the weight of my pelvis stretching my ligaments in my hip. It's not wrong, it's just different. Yeah, nice. And then when you're done with that, you can be all done. Good work. Thank you.